The story of the secret of NIMH. The story follows Mrs. Brisby, a widowed field mouse, who lives with her children in a cinder block on the Fitzgibbons farm. She faces a crisis when her youngest son, Timothy, falls seriously ill with pneumonia, and she is warned by Mr. Ages, an old mouse and a friend, that Timothy cannot be moved or exposed to cold air, or he will die. Unfortunately, the Fitzgibbons plow will soon tear through the field where they live, forcing Mrs. Brisby to find a way to move her family before the plowing begins. Desperate for a solution, Mrs. Brisby seeks help from a wise old owl known as the Great Owl. The owl advises her to go to the rats living under a nearby rosebush, telling her that they are the only ones capable of helping her. The Rats of NIMH. Mrs. Brisby discovers that the rats living in the rosebush are no ordinary rats. These rats are highly intelligent, having been the subjects of experiments at a place called NIMH, National Institute of Mental Health. The experiments enhanced their intellect, enabling them to read, write, and build advanced technology. The rats, led by a wise leader named Nicodemus, have developed a complex society underground, using electricity and other human tools. The rats owe a debt of gratitude to Mrs. Brisby's late husband, Jonathan Brisby, who was instrumental in helping them escape from NIMH years ago. Nicodemus and the other rats agree to help Mrs. Brisby move her home to safety before the plow comes. Conflict among the rats. However, not all of the rats agree on their future. Nicodemus and some of the others want to leave the rosebush and become independent, no longer reliant on stealing human electricity to survive. On the other hand, a rat named Jenner seeks to maintain their comfortable life, regardless of the ethics of stealing. This disagreement leads to internal conflict among the rats. The rescue. As Mrs. Brisby works with the rats to move her home, tensions rise. Jenner, opposed to Nicodemus' leadership, plots to sabotage the plan and even goes so far as to kill Nicodemus during the effort to move Mrs. Brisby's house. Mrs. Brisby discovers Jenner's treachery, and with the help of Justin, one of the noble rats, she stops Jenner's plans. In the climax of the story, Mrs. Brisby must act bravely and decisively to save her children when the situation becomes dire. She discovers a magical amulet that channels great power, enabling her to lift her home out of danger and save her family. Resolution. With Jenner's plot foiled and the rats free to continue their plans to live self-sufficiently, Mrs. Brisby returns to her children with the knowledge of her husband's heroic past. Timothy is saved, and the rats begin their journey toward a more ethical and independent future, while Mrs. Brisby and her family are safe from the dangers of the plow.